And I want to get you, obviously you played in the same position as Thierry. I mean, just how good is he? And let me reframe that a little. Is he the best striker that the Premier League has seen?
It's a great question. It's a great argument. I love obviously strikers who score goals, and Thierry obviously epitomises a great goal scorer. But he ticks a box of having really everything. I mean, he scored headers. He's quick. He's sharp. He can hold the ball up, and we've seen numerous goals where he's the ball's being played. It's back to the goal. He turns and puts into the back of the net from ridiculous angles. So he's one of them who's not afraid to try the unorthodox, if you like. But I mean, what an absolute legend of a player he is, and the goals he scored was just phenomenal. Is he the best in Premier League? I think, yeah, the argument is there. I mean, Alan Shearer will probably query that because of the goals he scored, but Thierry is everything that you need to be a great forward. He scores goals, he brings others into play, he's selfish, he's not selfish, sorry, he'll do loads of running and he'll help his teammates, but he epitomises a great striker. He really is. He's a phenomenal striker, he really is.
I don't know if you're aware, Robert, but I did admit Thierry into the conversation there, so he heard everything that you've just said about him there. Thierry Henry.
Thierry, how are you, pal?
I'm good, guys. First and foremost, I wanted to know how you guys are, because that's the most important thing with what's happening right now. I hope that you guys are okay and your family too.
Thank you very much, Thierry.
You know good. What? We've just said to him about being an absolute fantastic player, right? But what a man as well. That's the first thing he comes on. He comes on and asks how we are, Chris. Brilliant. That tells you everything you know. He's also a legend of a man as well. But Thierry, to answer, I think, I'm certainly fine, mate. All my family are well. More importantly, mate, how's yours? Good. As you saw, I was missing my kids with what was happening with COVID, so I had to come back. It was going to be the same thing. So there's something that Robbie, obviously, as a player, you tend to obviously focus on what you need to focus on and leave the family on the side and the kids on the side because you have to do it. And, it didn't make any sense for me. So the family is okay. I'm back home. They're happy about it. So, yeah, that's a plus.
Good man. Thierry, we will touch on management, and there's so much for us to discuss with you over the course of the next hour. Thierry, you have been making headlines, and I just want to commend you on what you've said over the last couple of days, Thierry. You've taken a stand, and I want to just touch on that perhaps first. It's probably only right that we do that. What's the reaction been? Have you been overwhelmed with, I guess, the support from what you've said about you're taking yourself off social media because you're fed up with what's been going on and what's been transpiring over the last, not just few months, but let's be frank about it, the last couple of years?
Listen, Chris, a lot of people talked to me and told me it was amazing. But I didn't actually do it for people to tell me how amazing it was. This is how I felt. This is how I feel. I have kids. I've seen fellow, I'm not a player anymore, but athletes that got abused about, color of the skin or what they believe in, or it can be religion at times. As much as I do, I'm sure you guys have kids that people are getting bullied out there. Not being on it also is sheer pressure from your friend. Oh, how come you're not on it? It's so weird sometimes. You can have a discussion with someone. I give an example, for example, my daughter. She can have a discussion with a friend, but if that friend doesn't communicate with her on social media, she takes it the wrong way. And I was like, but you just spoke to your friend. Why does he have to be on social media? Like, if she doesn't answer to my daughter on social media, my daughter is like, oh, what's wrong? So there is some pressure on it. The main point of it for me was, listen, it's a great tool. It is a great tool. Don't get me wrong. You can have a connection, whoever loves you. So you can talk to them. It is a great tool that people use as a weapon. And I think for me, it can be the same way, but can we feel all safe on it? I think you have to be above 13 to be on Instagram, for example. How do you know that person is above 13? What proves you that person is above 13? If you get abused online, it's already difficult because we tend to concentrate right on always, like if 2 million people say something nice about you and there is only one that says something bad, for some reason we concentrate on that one. Let's all be honest, we do. So as a grown-up, it's already difficult to deal with that. But just imagine if you're a kid. I know that kids shouldn't be on there. But how do you, on our side, we have to also be accountable for what's happening, but they also have to be accountable on their side to check about what's happening on their platform. And this is why I mentioned the copyright, for example. You try to put a video that you don't have the right and see how quick they're going to take it off, or you can't even send it. So if you can do that, why can you not do it for human beings? Listen, it is a great tool. I will be back, but when is going to be a safer place to be back on? That is it. We have to move with our world. We have to move with how the world is, obviously, tech and whatnot. This is where the world is going. But can it be a safe place? All is happening right now is what we used to have in the stadium, for example, in our game, now is on social media. And how do you stop it? Well, I'm asking the question, can they do their job? Because it's not mine. But I just wanted to enough is enough, basically. If you take the racism problem, you look, Robbie, John Barnes is a legend. Yeah. I heard is what he used to go through, and not only him, but we all saw that picture, obviously, of the banana on the field, and so I grew up with that, the same in France. And what he used to say then is the same now, but it moved on social media. And so only thing I'm saying is it's not only a community or race issue. It is also the bullying and the harassment and how much impact it can have on you mentally, which is all we all know that's important also to be mentally well.
Thierry, what exactly is the answer to this then? I mean, I'm not sure whether we whether we will get to the bottom of what is needed, because, I mean, quite evidently what you're saying is absolutely spot on, and everyone does need to be held accountable. But the powers that be and the people who run these social media channels, have they got to have some sort of reason implemented why you need to, maybe put your passport, say exactly who you are, to maybe get your mark on these channels, just so everyone knows that if there is bullying, if there is racial tensions out there, we know exactly who they are.
Robbie, listen, this is what I meant. If you want to know who is on there, and you can copy everything, people duplicate passport, people duplicate this and duplicate that, but we're talking about in general, right? Yeah. You can put your NHS number, you can put your national insurance number to know. It's not everybody that has a passport. Usually you should have an NHS number or national insurance number. Then you can find out who the person is, and then you can have consequences on what's happening. You're not going to control everything in life, but can we have consequences about what someone has done and find out who it is? You asked me a question, Robbie, and it's a fair question, but I personally don't have the answer. It's not my field, it's not my company. I didn't study for that. I'm not a tech guy. All I know is what it's happening, and I'm doing what I feel like I should be doing in order for them to answer the questions. Because if you take what happened with Glenn Kamara the other day, and I actually trained a bit Glenn Kamara because I was with Arsenal there, so I came across the guy is a lovely man. That was out of character, his reaction. So something must have been said that obviously now it's his word against the word of the player. My point is, this is my point. You're asking me, Robbie. You're asking John Bounce, you're asking Viv Anderson, you're asking Sol Campbell, you're asking anyone that has suffered of it, right? We're all going to tell you the same thing and what should be done and what we would like to be done. But the only people that can answer really to you is the people in charge. So when, after the game, I saw a lot of people sending cameras at Ibrox, and a lot of people sending cameras at the hotel or where they were staying, Slavia Prague, to try to find out what happened. Yep. Okay, cool. Why don't you send cameras at the UEFA offices and wait for someone to come out and see what they're going to say about it, because they have to talk. Not the statement that we all know. I can put a statement, you can put a statement, Robbie, and say exactly what you're supposed to say and how it's going to look and how great it's going to look.
Yeah.
But I want to know what's going to be done. People were talking the other day about kneeling or standing. the debate is about kneeling or standing. But the debate is not about kneeling or standing. It's about the cause. Let's not focus on the kneeling or standing. The kneeling is a powerful thing that's been happening for a very long time, and it's a peaceful thing in order for things to change. So however you want to feel about it, obviously, because now people want to stand and want to kneel. But the debate shouldn't be on kneeling and standing. What is going to happen? Forget about debating about kneeling or standing. Let's focus on what's going to happen. And I didn't see really anything happening. And I know it's difficult to do, but can they talk properly? Can they come out and explain themselves? Can they try to do something? And now I would like to think they will try to do something, because it is a tool that everyone is using right now, and it's a nice tool, but can it be a safe place?
Yeah, I think, Thierry, I think you've just absolutely nailed it there. So obviously the debate between kneeling and standing now, and it will get brought up again, but we do need an end game. So we need to say the powers that be, they need to come out and say, well, listen, this is what's happening. You've just mentioned Glenn Kamara. Obviously, I spoke to Steven Gerrard a couple of days after the incident, and he said he's the most placid guy you will ever meet in your life. He's a lovely lad, and he doesn't deserve any of this. So I know what you're saying there about his word against player for player. It's their word. Now, I unfortunately don't think you'll ever get to the bottom of it, because if racial tensions have been said or racial words have been spoken, he's not going to come out and admit it now. But you could sense by the players' reactions that something horrible was said. He wouldn't react like that if he came out and said, "Oh, that's you're a f***ing guy." There's not a chance. So obviously something ridiculous has been said, something horrible is, and unfortunately we will never ever get to the bottom of it unless these these people in the powers that be sort of sit down and find out, right, what shall we do to these people who are being racist? The kneeling and the standing, or this debate. Okay, I get it and it's valid, but you know what? We still need to find out why we're doing it and why this needs to stop.
Listen, all you do is you raise awareness, and people have been doing that for a long time, making people aware of what's happening. I hear a lot of people around me, dads, moms, anywhere, that know someone that suffered from getting bullied on Instagram or on Twitter or wherever. And sometimes it goes further than people having mental issues, because they commit suicide because of it and not being well. So are we all the time going to talk about it, and it's going to be a topic for whatever issue? It can be racism, it can be bullying, it can be harassment, whatever it can be that sometimes you can see on those platforms. Are we just going to talk about it? Look, Glenn Kamara, I agree with you. It's going to be I know Glenn. I will always side with him because I know the man is. But it's going to be difficult to if we talk about the law now, it's going to be difficult to be proven and what has been said. But in some other issues, it has been proven. Mm-hmm. And where do we go? The 2,000 fines, 3,000 pound fines. Well, what is this? Yeah. How come you can have a certain way of behaving if you're outside of social media or if you're outside of a stadium? Right, we have rules. We would have known right now if we all were going to respect the world without rules. You wouldn't have police officers. You wouldn't have traffic lights. You wouldn't have anything, because people would have been that nice. But it's not the case. So you need to make sure that it can be a safe place, like we're trying to make it also a safe place in the world. And we all know that what the problem that we have in our society, you will get it in football, because it's the closest game, it's the biggest game, you know what I mean? So you're going to find it in the game. But my point is, as you said, it is not about kneeling or standing, which is, I already explained what the kneeling part of it was. It's about what's next, because we never reach the next.
Well, Thierry, I think the sentence needs to fit the crime, doesn't it, as well? So if you look at, obviously, UEFA, FIFA, and the obstacles that they've had over the years, well, you've seen players who have maybe lifted the shirts up and have had sponsors and various slogans, logos or slogans on the shirt, and they've been fined more than some of the nations that have displayed racial connotations. And surely, when I'm saying about the sentence needs to fit the crime, if these nations or these clubs, these players are found guilty, then the relevant bodies need to come down doubly hard on them. And are we talking bans for players, life bans for players? Are we talking unbelievable fines? Are we talking about getting through out of major tournaments? Because it really can't go on. It really can't.
Robbie, listen, this is my point. I shouldn't be answering those questions.
Exactly.
We are always debating, and I don't mind it. We can discuss about it. But at one point, Robbie, how far can I go? Do I have the power right now to tell you, yes, it's going to be this? I can tell you that. But ultimately, I don't have the power to change it. I don't have people, they've been voted there. People vote for them to be in charge, to take. It's like you. Tomorrow, you said to me, that will be a nice transition to the game. If I said to you tomorrow, I'm going to score, and then the weekend after, I'm like, Robbie, I'm going to score, but I never score, right? I never score. At one point, you're going to go, hang on a minute, that guy is lying. He keeps on saying he's going to score, but he never delivers. Mm-hmm. But whatever he says before the game sounds perfect. But then I see you playing on Saturday, you don't score, and then you get away with it. You don't get away with it normally when you talk, and there is not something that's coming after it for anyone in life, and for me too, don't get me wrong. And again, the word that we have to use is accountability. It's very important, because when I make a mistake, and I will make mistake, and I make mistake, and I will still make mistake, people want to find out, people want to know, people would like people to get punished in a right manner, right? Or talk about it at the very least. That's one of the things I will say. I go back again, don't get me wrong, those tools are very important nowadays to be able to live, because that's where the world is going. But people use it as a weapon, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be that you can hide behind an account and people are trying to find you and they can't find you, or, oh, sorry, it's difficult. But if I try to press send to send a video that I don't have the copyright, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Change needs to happen. We're all in agreement with that. And absolutely, you're right, Thierry. You're not in a position to evoke that change. The powers that be, and we have talked about it long enough now. As you say, the kneeling gesture has been one to put out there. We need action now for the things that have happened. And I'm not going to sit here, and you cannot defend bullying, racism. There is no defence for any of that. Looking through your career, and I want to bring it back to what you lived through during your playing career and what you've perhaps gone through now in management, Thierry. Dealing with criticism, I'm not going to sit here and say dealing with racism, dealing with criticism, dealing with adversity in your career. There might be a lot of youngsters, a lot of adults, mental health important in all of this, that are watching and listening to this. What tools did you use in order to kind of quiet the naysayers, silence the naysayers, get through criticism? What was the key learnings that you took away from a career that has now moved into management that I appreciate is still going on, but in your playing career?
Well, Chris, listen, football helped a lot. And I'm sure Robbie will tell you, football helps a lot because you can focus on something that you know, if someone's trying to take you out of your game, by scoring a goal, you can silence them. Right? And you showing that is not going to affect you by still playing well and being good and being above it. And sometimes I will use the word cocky, but yeah, being cocky about it, having that little look. What are you going to do about it? You can shout, you can do whatever. You're not going to disturb me. I'm better than this, and I'll show you. Now, when you cannot shut people down or shut them up, sorry to say, with what you can do physically, being on the field, it has to become something that's going to be mentally strong, or you have to be mentally strong, or whoever. The message has to be a bit exactly with what's been happening in me, stepping out of social media to try to make an example out of it, on what I'm feeling. But when you're a player, it's easier to do because you can shut people down and on what they're saying in the stand. One thing that I kind of understood now and grew into it is that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show emotions. The emotion that we used to like to show when we were players, and Robbie will tell you, is the being upset one, the rage one. Robbie, when you're in a dressing room, you can't say that I'm scared, or you can't say that I'm weak, or you can't say that hurt me, or you can't say, I'm being abused. It's okay, I'll be fine. And usually your teammates are like, oh, don't waste your time. But actually, it's not about wasting time on the way. Say, it hurts. I can say it now because I stopped playing and I see it clear. A tiny bit more. It's a bit more clear for me because I grew up with shut up and play. Yeah. Whatever it is, shut up and play. You're injured? No, you're not injured. You're sick? I'm not sick. I was never going to arrive in a dressing room to say, I'm not well because I've been abused, or I'm not well because I'm sick, or my calf is hurting. You're waiting for your calf you're waiting to pull it before you step out of the field. I grew up with, I'm not playing. I'm not going to knock on the door of the manager and say, why am I not playing? You shut up and you play and you figure it out and you find a way. That was the only thing I knew. Was it right? Now that I think about it, no, but that's how it was. So you adapt to it. But now things have changed. People are more equipped. Now you can talk about mental health issues. You can talk about being scared before a game. That doesn't mean you're not going to play well. But now you can talk about it. Like I had players talking to me about their personal life and telling me stuff before a game. I still played them. Back in the days, if you arrive and you show weaknesses in a dressing room, it was a bit difficult. So things have changed. So there is more dialogue now between the coach and the player. There is more of an understanding with that. And actually a coach now, and I told my player, like, be open with me because it's important. If you have a problem mentally, let me know because we need to support you. You can't go through it alone. Yeah. But when we were players, Robbie, you had to figure it out alone.
Well, when we were playing, it was deemed a weakness. So you've just mentioned it yourself. So you as a manager, you will say to your players, "Look, any problems, come and see me." Now, there's no doubt that you will be hands-on with a psychologist. Most clubs now will have a psychologist. Certainly, when I was sort of growing up and getting into the team, and you mentioned yourself about you'll go on a pitch and how you're dealt with criticism. It was just a case of I'll go out and show you. I did that a few times. I went out and showed people, and I mean, I'm sure you remember the celebration I did against Everton.
Do I?
But I did that because of the amount of abuse I took over the years. And when I do that, then straight away, I mean, that was just a case of me. I'm getting my own back for use. But when I do that, the relevant bodies come down hard on me because I'm getting absolutely crucified for years. And then I'm the one who gets the big fine and the ban because I'm trying to alienate something that was false to me. So that was my way of doing it, and it sort of backfired on me. And even to this day, I still get stick over it, in all fairness. But what I'm saying, Thierry, is so when players now, I mean, we never had the psychologist, so we had to go and sort of deal with it ourselves, and that was my way of dealing with it. I'm going to show you. But nowadays, players have so many helping hands, if you like, to help them get through any adverse effects, any criticism or anything negative towards their career.
But listen, Robbie, and rightly so, by the way, rightly so. But I'm going to share something with you. When I saw that celebration, because I was on that side of the line and understanding what you were going through, I was like, damn right, well done. I was like, well done. You're letting them know, first and foremost, in our old way, this is not going to affect me, which actually was affecting you because you wouldn't have done that. But that was your way to say enough. It was your way of crying and screaming. Sorry to say that. I'm just putting into words. But you got punished.
Yeah.
Thierry, this is where I was like, that's crazy.
I can't even love you anymore.
No, it's true. Listen, I'm gonna, and you know that. Listen, I'm as you can see, I'm trying to be as honest as I can be, and I'm not the best person in the world because I have my flaws. We all sin in a different way. So I'm no one to judge anyone. This is one of the things I go by. I struggle, you struggle, we all about our struggles. But when you reach me, first and foremost, I have so much admiration for you. I said it. You can I have discussions sometime with Jamie Carragher and the player that you were and where you're coming from, what you had to go through. the way you were playing, one of the best finishers I've ever seen in my life, and what you did and what you stood for and what you represent, for me is very important. This is why it was a no-brainer for me to come and talk to you, because that there's something with you. It's not only so much about the game. I always say to people like players because of what they transcend. It's not so much about what you won, and it's what you transcend and what impact you had on people. And I remember that celebration because I laughed, in all fairness, like everybody at the very beginning, because it was funny. However you want to see it. But for me, I was like, yeah, tell them you had enough. You had enough. And it won't change you. You will still score, and then you got punished. People need to understand what was actually what you were showing in between the line. You were in your way showing that you were hurt, that you were crying and screaming, but you will still perform. So it doesn't matter. But anyway, anyhow, it's a different topic. But to go back to you, Chris, be vulnerable, talk about your problem. It is not a weakness. It is actually a strength to be able to share it and show weaknesses. But we were not. I wasn't born. Let me put it this way. The way I've been educated is not so much on for the world that I live on now. So I need to re-educate myself. The players right now are re-educating me, and my kids are re-educating me, because what I knew is not true anymore. It is not it. And you need to readjust and adapt, put your ego on the side, have so much humility to be able to understand what's in front of you, because I need to relearn about the world, because the world that I knew and how I grew up is not the same. The codes, that I knew are not the same anymore. So, I can't say to a player, shut up and play. It's impossible. In my time, it was okay. It was all right. You need to relearn and readapt yourself, put your ego on the side in order to understand. And Robbie knows that. You arrive in a dressing room, you have to make sure you impress the senior players. I don't know how, but it's on you. Now, I always say, Robbie, you know what? I'm going to love to be a senior player or old guy. So, the new generation is going to have to meet me. And now it's a total opposite. You, the senior player, you're the old guy, and you still have to go and meet the new generation, because your codes are not their codes anymore. And you need to understand that. It's not easy. Understand me well, it is not easy, because once something shaped you, for you to deprogram yourself, to be able to reprogram yourself and understand what they're about, you have at times to sometimes I speak to my daughter and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I'm thinking about how I grew up, but you need to adapt to them. That is one of the tool that is very important when you coach right now. But to go back to what you said, Chris, I know I speak a lot where we have an hour, but it's for you. It's good to be vulnerable. It's good to show your weakness, and it makes you feel better. It does make you feel better.
Honesty, you've used that word, Thierry. It's about being honest to yourself, and it's about being honest to those that follow you closely. And you were very honest quite recently, in actual fact, where you admitted to, the fact, and we go back to it, it's a topic I'm sure you've spoken about numerous times, the incident against Ireland back in 2009, whereby the first time in your career, you were the bad guy. Obviously Spurs fans, Man United fans, but huge respect for you, irrespective of you scoring goals. But for the first time, you were universally seen by a lot of fractions as the bad guy. Looking back on that 12 years ago, Thierry, how has time kind of made you look back on that particular incident? And would you have dealt with it any way differently now knowing what you know 12 years on?
No, I think you go through a moment in life that shapes you. You can't, this is what shaped you. Whatever happened in your life, you can't go back and say, I would have done this, then I wouldn't have been the same person. It is what it is. And I said it at the time. It was a bad, but Robbie is there. He will remember Stefan Ancho handballing the ball on the line when we played in the final.
Yeah.
By the way, they got a goal kick. Not only they got a goal kick, and Ancho put his arm out to save the ball. That's what you do as a player. Sorry, you have that bad reaction, that bad moment that you extend your arm. I didn't think about it. It happened. Was I proud of it? No, I wasn't proud of it. It happened. The ref didn't blow the whistle. I wasn't proud of it. I'm still not proud of it. But things happen in the game. Like I said to you, lost the FA Cup final against Liverpool that night. Nobody remembers that Henshaw handballed the ball on the line, pretended to go with his head and push it with his hand. I didn't hear anyone crying for Arsenal at the end of the game. Me, Liverpool scored 2 goals at the end, 2 goals of Michael Owen. I didn't hear a pip about the handball of Henshaw. Regardless of what happened, it is what it is. It's something that happened in the game. It's a game of football. This is where the game of football goes really far. After, with all the abuse that I got, whether I deserve it or I didn't deserve it, it's still something that happened on the football pitch. Maradona, Lionel Messi scored a goal like that against Espanyol Barcelona with his hand. He scored it. I didn't hear anyone killing Lionel Messi. Anyway, anyhow, it happened to me. I had to take it. I took it. Was I proud of it? No. I nearly didn't even go to the World Cup. Little, you know, a lot of stuff happened. It became a political problem. Prime ministers talking about it, the president talking about it. I was like, oh, but when am I going to, did I kill someone? You know, some people were praised when Lionel Messi scored that goal against Espanyol Barcelona, I think it was. They say, oh my God, he's getting closer to Maradona. What a genius. I was the devil. It's okay, I accepted it. I explained to you, am I proud of it? No. Do I get abused by the Irish fans sometimes? Yes, I do. And it's hard to take because this is not the type of player I am. But you can't. When you have a bad instinct, a reaction is difficult to explain. I can't explain it because it happens. But this is where it becomes difficult. And I'm not saying that for people to go, oh my God, no. But then after that, the abuse that I got, I received letters, death threats. My daughter had to go to school with a bodyguard for 2 weeks because I was scared. We know where you live. I was in Barcelona, don't get me wrong, but my daughter was still here. And then I'm not trying to make it sound better than what it is because it happened. But Robbie will tell you, the impact that he has on your family sometimes, this is where it becomes difficult. Because on something that I didn't think about doing, it was an instinct reaction, the bad instinct reaction that players do often when they're in and around the ball. And I'm sure, Robbie, you must have done it. When that ball is here, you extend your arm and it comes out. I'm not saying it's right at all, but it comes out. But after, I'll be honest with you, it was hard. It was hard because you're receiving stuff like that at my ex's wife, and because I got scared, I put a bodyguard for my daughter. I never shared that, but you know, I'm sharing it now. Understand me well. Please understand me well. I'm not saying this to make what happened better or not better. It has nothing to do with anything. But that was hard. This is the stuff that sometimes that people do not understand. You don't want to receive death threats. You don't want to receive whatever. You don't want your daughter to be targeted. You don't want that. But it was, and you went away, and I can joke about it now. It's a bit better. I digested it. But yeah. You can't go through a career of 20 years without a little problem.
Of course, yeah. Good. Thierry, just obviously, again, change a little bit of a change of subject because obviously that is, what you're saying is spot on. It is purely instinctive, and sometimes your mind, certainly as a striker, you don't really know what's happening, and it just happens, and it is that instinct, but just takes over. But look, I think you've addressed it well, you've spoke well, and as you always do. And look, let's draw the line under that, I think, obviously, and maybe look at something else. Can we start? Obviously, we don't want to delve into your early part of your career because obviously we started at Monaco. I know one of your favourite players was Sonny Anderson, who was maybe instrumental in a lot of the good that you've done, the way you played, the way the time of your runs, the way you finished. Was he one of the main players you looked up to?
Yes, but Robbie, for me. So Sonny taught me something it was the only player that I've seen doing that at ease and at the speed that he was doing it. Sonny Anderson used to, so if you on that side of him, he will always push the ball with his left foot, full speed. And if you're on the other side, you know how he goes, he passes you that way, he goes there, then he goes and he shifts the ball on the other side. And I looked at him, I said, how do you do that at that speed? Because you know that's hard, to be able to shift the ball full speed, going between people and knowing that I need to shift it there and I have to put it there. So I started to try to do that. I never quite mastered it like he used to, because he was amazing at that. But Sonny was an example for me in terms of his work ethic in training. He always wanted to do more. And also the socks above the knees. That's him. You know, I got abused so much about my socks above my knees and what I used to hear in the stand, and sometimes on programs notes and the pale blue gloves and the short sleeve that didn't go down too well also. But that was me. But Sonny Anderson obviously was a big guy. But there is you know, I grew up with Maradona. The first World Cup that I saw was '86. And Maradona was just Maradona. I've never seen a guy, you can't say that he won it on his own, because you need a team, a solid team, and they were defensively sound and robust and whatever. But for me, he won that World Cup alone. You know, he went to Napoli, he met Napoli. I'm not saying alone, but before he arrived, Napoli didn't win anything, and since he left Napoli, didn't win anything. So that doesn't happen often, that a big player leaves a big club and the big club doesn't win. Maradona made things happen. For me, anyway, anyhow. But I grew up with Van Basten. Van Basten is the guy that actually I wanted to emulate, because he had so much class. He could do everything. But there was one thing that made me understand the game, Robbie. Germany scored a goal. Holland scored a goal against Germany, actually, at the Euro 92. He's in the box with one player. Aaron Winter gets the ball on the side. They go on the counter. And he made the run to move that defender away to free Dennis Bergkamp for a header. But when he moved, he pointed already at Dennis Bergkamp while he was moving. He knew what he was doing. That spoke to me, because that was almost a strikers were not doing that. If you are at that moment at that penalty spot, you're trying to lose your man for the cross, and he moved away out of the frame of the goal to free Dennis Bergkamp. And I was like, wow. You know, all the time people talk about Marco van Basten as a goal scorer, that he's greedy, that he will always shoot in any position. But then nobody mentioned that. But that spoke to me watching the game. And so I was like, okay, so you can do other stuff as a striker. You can also move forward. That was so clear, because he actually pointed at Dennis Bergkamp behind him on the cross of Aaron Winter. And then I will mention George Weah, I will mention Romario, and I will mention Ronaldo il Fenomeno. The Brazilian Ronaldo. Why? Because suddenly, when I was young, that wasn't my game. I was a 9, but that wasn't my game to stay in and around the center backs and the frame of the goal in between the two posts. That wasn't my game, right? I was like, okay, you know, I didn't feel comfortable, basically. You could see my weaknesses instead of seeing my strong point. But you know how it is, Robbie. You have coaches that always tell you, now, if you move out of the frame of the goal, if you don't stay in the middle, you will never score goals. And I was fighting my natural instinct, because that wasn't me. But when I saw those 3 guys stepping out of the box, going and get the ball on the right, on the left, beating people and scoring goals, I used to go back and talk to my coaches and go like, you see, you don't have to stay, because I had the proof that you don't have to stay there. But then after, Robbie, you have to back it up.
Yeah. Because
if you step out of the box and you also don't score, you look a bit stupid. So that's where my mind was when I said to myself, I'm going to try to be that type of players. And then when I arrived in the Premier League also, I started to understand, because of my days playing as a winger, that sharing is very key. I don't know if I didn't play as a winger that I would have understood that like that. Because when you play as a winger and you go up and down with your right back the whole game, people do not understand how hard that is. You go up and down, and then you go up and down, okay, up and down. And at one point, they drop you the ball, you're in a 1v1 situation. Meanwhile, that's 4 times that you went up and down. And people are like, oh, can he cross the ball better? I'm out of breath. The guy is pushing me. I'm on my left foot, breaking my neck. And then people don't consider that. They're like, oh, he should cross better. Yes, he should cross better, but he went up and down 4 times. I invite anyone now to do a box to box to box to box to box to box. I drop the ball, do a 1v1 now and cross the ball well. It's not easy. And then when I was there on the side, I realized that you don't get any credit.
Mm.
You know, you it's the striker that scored that gets the headline. And although he missed 20 billion controls, 5-1v1, you score the winner, you're the hero. And the winger on the side that just crossed the ball 98th minute, 89th minute, sorry, or 95th or whatever it is in extra time now, you cross the ball back, he scored a tapping, and the day after is, wow, he scored his 20th goal of the season. There were 80 tap-ins by the guy that crossed the ball, and he doesn't get any credit. So in my mind, I was like, I need to find a way to do both. I need to find a way to do both because it's important to score goals because that's your job. But it's important also to share because those guys are running for you to allow you to do your job.
Yeah.
So you have to share.
I wonder, Thierry, and I'm sure you've seen the comments. I think it was Paul Scholes who's on this podcast a few weeks back, but he admitted quite recently that Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was for a long time in the Premier League your arch rival for the Golden Boot, that he had such a bloody mindedness, such a single-mindedness on everything that he did. The first thing he did on the coach was to check if Thierry Henry, to check if you had scored, because he was obsessed with goals, stats, being the very best, being at the top of the charts. Did you do that? Did you care what Ruud did?
Yes, I did, because it's normal. You're battling against someone. If you don't, I will be lying to tell you that it didn't affect me. But it didn't dictate me. It didn't dictate my game. I knew what I had to do for my team. I wasn't going to shoot in every angle just for the sake of beating Ruud. And he was a hell of a player, don't get me wrong. The most important thing is I always say, we have to score. I don't have to score. More often than not, it will be me. But the team has to score, not me. We have to win, not me. You know, you look at it, I didn't score a lot of goals in my career at Arsenal and we lost the game. You know, those goals, I'm taking them, don't get away. Don't take them away from me. But those goals don't score for me. They didn't mean anything for me. The goal that I scored and we lost, that didn't mean anything for me. Like I wasn't going to, oh, you know what? I've done my job. We lost 3-2, scored 2 goals. I don't care. No, I cared. I cared because I didn't do enough. And that's how you should feel as an individual. So yes, did I look at if Van Nistelrooy scored? Yes. Did I look at if Man United win? Yes. You know, it's the same thing. It's not always individual. Did I look? We were battling against them. Obviously, I'm looking at what Man United did after the game. Then I'm battling with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'm looking. And at the time, people didn't care too much about assists. So I wasn't looking at who is making assists or not. It became a thing recently. In the past 4 or 5 years, everyone is showing assists, goal involvement, and this and that, which we all know that a good ball is important in the game, because if not, we're not going anywhere. But yes, I did look at it, but that wasn't going to dictate the person and the player I was going to be.
Thierry, just go back to, obviously, when you left Monaco, obviously you ended up eventually at Juventus. And I mean, I'm not sure how you deal with this, but a lot of people say, oh, you had a real tough time at Juventus. It probably wasn't the best experience of you because you never scored as many goals as you would have liked. I'm not saying you never score goals, but your record at Juventus in terms of, I think you went over there in January, but didn't you, towards the end of the season, you played in every game, didn't you? So is that a little bit of a myth that people say that you didn't enjoy Juventus, or was it because of the system that they played?
It is a massive myth. And I'm not saying that, for example, I struggled at Arsenal more than I struggled at Juventus when I first arrived. And people don't mention that because they saw the end of the story. I struggled at Arsenal. People don't remember Middlesbrough 5-1, November. I didn't come on. I wasn't coming on November. I wasn't coming on anymore at Arsenal my first year. Juve, I played as a starter every time under Ancelotti. But I was playing in a 3-5-2. So you're the 4th defender, you're the 5th midfielder, and you're the 3rd striker. So that was a bit new for me. But at the end of the very day, I was adapting to it, and I was playing very well towards the end of the season. And by the way, remember when I arrived, Juve was 9th in the league. They were getting, there was that thing that Zdeněk Zeman was saying, that some of the Juve players were whatever he was saying, or using whatever not allowed substance, or whatever he was saying. I'm not getting involved in that, but the club was suffering. And yes, the club was suffering, but slowly but surely, I was getting better. People know in Italy why I left. I left because of Moggi.
Yeah.
This is it. This is why I left Juve, because if not, I would have still be in Juve, because I was playing, always a starter. The only time I didn't play under Ancelotti is against Man United and Olympiacos, because I was cup-tied in the Champions League. That is it. If not, you would have seen me against Man United.
So had Moggi not forced you out, Thierry? I mean, you've said it there.
He didn't force me out. I forced myself out.
Okay. Had it not been for Moggi, then
yeah.
you would have stayed in Italy. Arsenal,
yeah.
We might not be sitting here talking about Thierry Henry with 228 goals for Arsenal.
No, I don't think so. I don't know what I cannot tell you what would have happened the year after, but surely not that year, because I was going to stay at Juve. But somehow the way that person was, Moggi, and the way he used to deal with players, for me, is one thing that I like is respect. And don't get me wrong, I had an amazing time at Juve. Juve is an amazing club, but that guy didn't treat me well, and so when my heart is gone, bye.
Yeah. And then you rock up at Arsenal. Did anyone else come in for you, Thierry? I may as well tell you now. Robbie will tell our guest at the end. I'll tell you midway through this chat. Big United fan as I am, as you can hear the Mancunian accent. Did Fergie, please tell me Fergie gave you a call?
I will be honest with you. I remember at the time that I said I wanted to leave Juve for the reason that I explained. I didn't go into details because you need another hour for that one. I said I wanted to go to Arsenal because I met the boss actually after my last game playing for Juventus. I explained to him the situation and I said to him I want to come to Arsenal. It took a long time because that was in May and I only signed in August. So it took a long time. But I wasn't willing to listen to any other offers, nothing. I wanted to go to Arsenal. First and foremost because Nicolas Anelka, Emmanuel Petit, and Patrick Vieira were talking so highly about Arsenal. And the boss started my career at Monaco, so I wanted to work with him again. And I just wanted to play for Arsenal because of what the French guys were saying. And the Premier League, Premiership at the time, was an attractive league. When you see the likes of Robbie, see the likes of Shearer, you see the likes of Matt Le Tissier, Ian Wright, Alan Smith, Kevin Campbell, all those guys, callers, fans, you were allowed to jump in the stand. And, it was just nice. The explosion of goals, the songs. So anyone could have come at that time. I was always going to go to Arsenal, no matter what.
Thierry, I think it's safe to say I think you had obviously a great career in terms of what you stood for, the goals you scored, the trophies you won. I'm sure you probably get asked a lot. So, was winning the treble at Barcelona probably the highlight, or would it have been the Invincibles season? Would that have been the better one? Do you think?
It's a tough one. As an Arsenal man, as you know, Arsenal is Arsenal for me, and everyone will tell me, you left. Doesn't matter, In my heart, I'll always be Arsenal. Wherever I am, till I die, my grave, it will be still Arsenal. So it won't change. So for me, let's put it this way, for you guys to understand, because I always get, I can't believe he said that. He didn't say Arsenal, and I can't believe. I thought he was an Arsenal man. I'm an Arsenal man, and I will die an Arsenal man. For me, it's the same. When you talk about basketball, you don't talk about Jordan, because Jordan is alone. For me, understand me well, when you talk about basketball, I do not mention Jordan because Jordan is alone. So Arsenal, alone. Do you understand what I mean? Not even alone. Now, we can talk about the treble. The treble. Oh, listen, Robbie, this is not about winning the treble. This is not about winning this, goals you scored. And for me, it's what you transcend and what people talk about. When people used to see me in the street or see me in the street, they were talking about how we were playing and how much they were going to always stop what they were doing to watch us play. Same at Arsenal, by the way. Same at Arsenal. So many times people are like, you know what, I don't like you guys, but you are enjoyable to watch. This is where you know you've done something, not so much about winning, and winning matters. There's something that will go above winning for me is what do you transcend? What do you give to people? Robbie, you're the same. And I know you're going to be modest and humble about it. You're the same. You're the same. That's why people love you. That's why people love you at Liverpool, because they could relate. They could see when you were upset. They could see when you were happy. There was no, and they could see you gave your all for your team, winning or losing. They can relate to that. They don't care about the rest. They want to see you play 100%. That's all they want to see. And the same with Barcelona. We did it in a certain way that people will always remember that you have other teams that won maybe more or a different way, but sometimes they don't stay in your head. But when you play a certain way and you are a certain way, however you want, you transcend something, you transmit something. People are, I cannot explain it to you. You know exactly what I mean. You know, that's why you have that connection with the Liverpool fans. That's why you always be a legend. Even I'm not having a go here, Robbie, but some guys maybe were better than you after, but they didn't have that. They don't have that. So this is why, for me, we can talk about staying invincible or so invincible. Staying invincible is ridiculous. Really.
Thierry, just go back to that, obviously, the invincible year. I know it's, it's a phenomenal achievement. It really is in terms of what you've done in the Premier League. But when in the season did you start to believe, you as a player, as an individual, and your team start believing that you could go every game without getting beat?
In all fairness, Robbie, myself, I don't know. I can't speak to everybody because you're not in. I can't, what they were thinking at the time, all the time. I don't always know, but I didn't think about it. Probably what you want is to be champion. It doesn't matter how you do it. You want to do it in style because it's how we were playing and whatnot, but you want to be champion. You don't care about how, when, if it's going to be a pretty title or not a pretty title. You don't care. Then when we clinched the title at Tottenham, you start to realize that, okay, yeah, we can stay unbeaten, but you're not really understanding what it means. And I have to thank Arsene for that, because he was like, guys, please push through those last few games, because you're about to do something that will go down in history. And we were like, Robbie, we can be in the dressing room. What is he talking about, this guy? I mean, we're champion. Why? There is a big tournament at the end of the season. Let me recover, and so on. We went through those games. They were horrible. They were my worst game that I played for Arsenal. You watch them, you will switch them off. But we managed to stay unbeaten. But I didn't personally really understand what was happening. But there was one game that I thought that we could blow it. I didn't think in any other game that we could, but one game I thought we could blow it. And it's Liverpool at home. I'll tell you why, because people don't remember. A lot of people are talking about playing a lot of games and repetition, but in my time, it was the same. We were playing a lot of games, going to the national team. I didn't hear anyone saying, oh, he must be tired from the season and the Euro is coming. No, you play. And when you were not playing well, there was no, he must be tired. There's no being tired. And I remember playing 4 games in 8 days. We played Chelsea twice in the Champions League, Man United at Villa. I didn't even play, by the way. I was so upset. And Villa and Paul Scholes scored. I think we lost against Man United. Yeah. People don't remember that. The FA never wanted to rearrange the game for us.
Yeah,
we played 4 games in 8 days, and then Friday, I think it was a Friday. We played Liverpool at home. On the back of those 3 games, obviously, first minute, Sami Hyypiä scores. Then we level it. Then Stevie G, as always, gives a great pass to Michael Owen, and Owen makes it 2-1. When the stadium at that moment stopped breathing.
Yeah.
Because they were like, okay, we lost against Man United. We just lost in the Champions League. Are we going to also now lose the title. I mean, are we going to do that? Because after that, we had to go soon at the lane. And how people can be, oh my, anyway. We came back, Robert Pires scored, and then we made it 4-2. But at that moment, I was like, no, not now. No. It's crazy the way I think about it. I didn't think about staying unbeaten so much, but there was a game when I thought we were not going to do it. Not so much that we were going to do it, but we were not going to do it. I know it's the same thing, but it's not the same emotion, not the same feeling.
Thierry, you just said there, so all year it was just all about being champions, but was the season actually, and don't take this the wrong way, but was it a little bit bittersweet because obviously you won the league, you got to the semi-finals of the League Cup, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and was it the semi-finals of the Champions League, I think? So, quarters. So you lost to Chelsea in the Champions League. I think you lost to Middlesbrough in the League Cup and Manchester United in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Could have you and should have you achieved more, or was it because of the fixture congestion that maybe hindered you a little bit?
No, I would not be on any excuses. We should have done more.
Thierry, we never use excuses. We use reasons.
I understand all reasons. I totally agree, but no, we should have done more. And this is, that's me. That was always my way. We should have done more. But we had a team. Chelsea wanted to beat us. That was the first time that I think they beat us in 8 to 9 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. The day Bridge scored that goal. Middlesbrough, I don't know who played because the boss wasn't really putting the full team at the time in the League Cup. We were not putting the full squad. And then Man United, it was very difficult for me to sit on the bench and watch that game because they had their full squad on and we didn't. But as you said, the boss felt like he had to juggle a bit, and we collapsed against Chelsea in the Champions League. If you watch that first half, we were unplayable. If you watch the second half, I think my son could have played against us that second half. We just collapsed physically, dead. We couldn't. I remember that day. I wanted to make some move, only my eyes were moving. There's nothing I could do. That's how I was. We collapsed. And full credit to Chelsea, don't get me wrong. They deserve their win, and that's not what I'm saying. But we collapsed, and that's how I was. Could we have done better? Yes, I think we could have done better. But I'm thinking about that, about it. Sorry, every time, every year was the same. We could have done better. If you ask me about Barcelona, could we have done it better? Even if it was a treble, I will tell you the same thing. We could have done it better.
Which is some statement, because that 2009 team, and I'm not just saying this because you're on this podcast, Thierry, that Barcelona 2009 team, without question, in my lifetime, is the best club side that I've ever seen.
You mean 2009?
The 9 team's better than 11, in my opinion.
The 9 team, you think?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think the 9 team was, I really do. I think the 9 team, I think Fergie called it the passing carousel when you had Iniesta, Xavi, and then of course the front three.
It is something that I will share with you. That day, remember, our whole back line was injured.
Yeah.
Puyol played right back, Silvinho hardly played all season, played left back, Yaya Touré played centre back. Busquets was a young Busquets. Now people say, oh, you had Busquets, but he hardly played any game at that time. I was injured. I trained 4 days before the final without playing a game in a month. Iniesta couldn't sprint. I couldn't sprint and bend my knees. So we were not that confident before the game. But you know what saves you? And this is what but this is why Pep is so good. We were sure about our structure. We were sure about our tactic. And I went on the field for the first time in my life. When you play in that team, you don't need to run. Ball is running. Ball is moving. So you go in the game, the team will make you win, not individuals. Eventually, understand me well, individuals are going to make a difference. But we went there as, okay, we are hurt as a team. Some people were at red card. I did that at the red card. Some guys were injured. Some guys played injured, me and Andres Iniesta. But we were so sure about our game plan and how we used to play. And the ball is always faster than the player. Ball is always faster than the player. And then we manage it. That's why Pep is great, because you look at this year, the team makes a difference. Whoever plays in that team, they didn't have De Bruyne for a little while. They didn't have Aguero all season. Jesus is not a goal-scoring machine. they still win because they don't live and die by individuals. They live and die with the team.
Thierry, just on Pep, is it true that the Gladiator-inspired video before that 2009, you're nodding there, so that would suggest it is true. I mean, because I'm fascinated by Pep, and I know Rob is as well. Talk us through, give us some anecdotes if you can, and you're very eloquent in the way that you describe things. The genius of Pep, in your own words, where does it stem from?
You know what? It's very difficult to understand in genius. You have to let them be. Because if you actually enter his head, I don't know if you can cope with what you're going to see. I think sometimes Pep is that good that he actually sees too many things that he wants to rectify at the same time or unlock at the same time, and he just sees too much. But for me, it's the way that he sees what's going to happen in the game before the game, and it happens in the game. And his ability to make you understand what is required to win as a team, is priceless. You know, so many times, you find yourself in a situation where we all have big egos. And when you play as a player, when you take the team that he had or the team that he has, all the guys individually are big guns in their country. But how do you make sure that you make those guys understand what he wants, obviously, for the good of the team, when those guys were individually all-stars or are individually all-stars, but they're all at the service of the team? Don't get me wrong, if we go into details and the tactic and how he will make sure that he will always, with two players, ping your back line, sometimes with three, ping five. So it's a game of chase. He's always want to outnumber you with an overload. So, and then obviously when you possess the ball and you stay higher, what I like with Pep is people do not mention, and I used to say it as a player, his teams don't concede goals. They always talk about that. His team score goals, but his team don't concede goals. It's the first time in my life that I enjoyed putting pressure on the team because I knew my team was with me. The guys are 5 meters behind me. We can stay here all day. The ref used to blow the whistle sometime. I was like, oh, already 90 minutes? I was like, oh, I didn't even realize. When you enjoy yourself, you don't, the time, when you're young, when you were young and your mom calls you and you're like, oh, I've been outside for 3 hours. I didn't realize. It's when the tactic is boring that you realize the game is boring. And even you don't have the time to realize what's happening. You're enjoying yourself. What strikes me with him and I love is the intensity. The other day I watched a game of Man City. Phil Foden, they were 3-0 up somewhere, I think, in the cup at Everton. I think minute 93rd, they gave him a ball through. He miscontrolled it with his right foot. He was upset. The team was upset. They chased the ball straight away. You're 3-0 up, minute 93, and some people tell me, guys are tired. I see Man City, they run everywhere from the first minute till the end. Yeah, he does rotate, but it can be 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. He always used to say, respect the game. The best way you can respect the team is to play properly up until the end. And they will always respect you. If it's 15-0, it's 15-0. But do not disrespect the game by starting to do some showboating, back heel, and stuff like that. Play the game the proper way, like you want to win it from the first minute till the end, because people are watching us. He used to say, this is okay. I give you one thing. Before the game, this is exactly what he said. Okay, he showed us the Gladiator video that could have killed us, by the way, because it was too emotional. That's why I think the first 2 minutes I thought I was in a movie. I was like, I'm still in the dressing room. But this is what he said. He said that at the end of the day, listen, no matter what happened today, we have to stay true to our principle and who we are. I want people at the end of the game to say that Barca team can play football. He never talked about we must win, come on. That's what he said. He said, I want people at the end of the game to say that we can play football. Do not lose who we are. Listen, that's for me right there is Pep. It's about how the team plays. And I know sometimes for some of the journalists, when he says at the end of the game, after a defeat, And he says, I have nothing to say against my team. They did exactly what I asked them to do. They played well, but we didn't win. You know, people are like, oh, he's trying to hide behind the fact that they lost. No, no, no. And sometimes also he wins and he's not happy with his team because they didn't match the level of who they are. This is very important, and people have to respect that. I did respect that. I understood it. And thankfully, we won like that. But what a coach is.
Brilliant. Thierry, I know we've just got you just on an hour now, so I'm conscious of the time, and just a couple of more questions from myself, pal. So from a management point of view, obviously you've just left Montreal, obviously for family reasons. We all know the reason why. Just a bit of a loaded question here. Are you keen to get back into management as quickly as possible? And what is your end goal for your style and your career as a manager? What type of manager do you want to be?
Well, I'm learning. If you see my first training session and you see me training now, I've changed. I like my team to put pressure and play out from the back. People misunderstand the playing out from the back. You don't have to always play short out from the back. You can play a long ball, a long pass out from the back. But players need to have option to make sure that they can play short or long. This is why it's difficult to play City, because when you overpress them, Ederson plays a long pass. And when you don't, because he made you aware that you can play a long pass, then they play short. Anyway, choose your poison, basically. But, yes, I want to go back to the game as quick as possible. But there's something that, I'm aware of. It will be, because I never had the opportunity to when I went to Monaco, I arrived with a team that was struggling, 1,700 players. And the struggle that the team had, it's great when you arrive at the beginning of the season, also to bring your players and have the time, obviously, to prepare the season. But having said that, someone asked me the other day, will you be scared to start in the championship or whatever? I said, scared of what? I went to the MLS. I don't have a problem with that. Things happen because of COVID and the situation that we're in. It's a different topic. But I'm nobody as a coach. I'm trying to learn. Whatever I did as a player doesn't count anymore. I know that. I understand that. I told you before, guys, you need to put your ego on the side. I understood that also. And make sure that you can teach those guys and teach them how you want to play and how you want to evolve. Wherever it's going to be, it doesn't matter as long as the project looks great. And even when it looks great, you never know where it can go, because that depends on if you win, if you don't win. As you know, guys, the most important thing, you don't bring the 3 points more often than not, you are going to be in trouble. But for me, the most important thing is the project has to be the right one, not necessarily where and which division.
Thierry, I look at when we've had Steven Gerrard on this show, there's a certain club up my neck of the woods in Celtic Football Club. Is the CV in up there? Listen,
with all humility, whatever is going to come my way, I'm not saying that should come my way, understand me well. Whatever is going to come my way, I'm going to try to evaluate. I'm sure they're going to work on what they need to work on. I'm just trying to be the coach that I'm trying to be. I don't know what's happening there. This is actually a club that I respect a lot, like I'm sure a lot of people in the world. But that I don't know about. All I know is I want to coach. I want to be out there, go back out there. And by the way, what Stevie G done is just ridiculous. What a man. I mean, I knew he was going to deliver. What I like also, let's all be honest, with how great he can be. They gave him time.
Yeah.
They gave him time to build a team, to go and grab the players that he wanted, to make sure that they were going to play. When he got Steven Davis, everyone went, what? He went to get Davis for a reason, to stabilize that midfield in games, and then have some fresh leg in and around. But I love the fact that they gave him time to be able to catch Celtic. Because if not, how are you going to, it's not going to happen in 1 season, 2 seasons. Now it happened. But to go back to what you asked me, this is not up to me. I have massive respect for both clubs, by the way. But I'm just trying to learn, like I said to you, I'm available. I don't know what's going to come my way, but I want to coach for sure.
It's massive respect, and Robbie knows this, and I've said it to him time and time again. Massive respect to both of you. Robbie went to Australia, current manager of East Bengal in India. You've gone to the MLS. You're stepping out of your comfort zones. You're not resting on your egos. You're not resting on your laurels. And I say this to both of you. It's not to embarrass you both, but you're willing to take a risk in order to prove yourselves, because you do start all over again. Forget what you did as players. You're starting over again as coaches. And Robbie said on this podcast before, Thierry, not afraid to reach out to people, not afraid to learn from different people. Are you likewise? I mean, Pep, I know Marcelo Bielsa, he went over to his Argentine ranch for a couple of days and they just talked football. Do you speak to Pep? Do you speak to Arsene? Do you seek out information from different men and women in football?
Whenever I can speak to whoever that have done it, that has been in the game for a long time. Like I said, you mentioned starting over again. I'm not starting over again, I'm starting.
Yeah.
Because it's two different lives. I'm starting. And ultimately, you got to learn. You know, you don't know everything. Which one thing was very difficult, for example, with COVID. I couldn't phone anybody because no one dealt with COVID before. No one dealt with, we played almost our games away from home. I quarantined 170 days last year. Not all together, but if you count them all, 170 days. Who has done that before? Who could have talked to about it? We played all our games away from home. It's like if I said to you, you take Liverpool now and all their games are in Poland. And the whole club goes there and you play in Poland, you don't go back home, because if you go back home, you're in quarantine, you can't train. So how do you deal with that? Who do I call for that? Who dealt with that before? Nobody. Do you understand what I mean? So you have to learn, and you have to be the rock of everybody, deal with the problem, and then Robbie will tell you, you start to lose games along the way while you're away. Going in preseason, Robbie will tell you, going in preseason already, you passed that 10th day in preseason. Even if I used to like my teammates, I don't want to see them anymore. No, I don't. Even if he was my dad, 10 days with my dad, non-stop. No, I love him, but I'll be like, hey. So just imagine when you're stuck somewhere for 2 months, non-stop, or you have to come back. But the dilemma that I had last year was this: if I bring them back to see their family in Montreal, we're not allowed to train. If I stay there, then they don't see their family. And so you need to make the playoff. Players are injured, the normal, why I'm not playing, why we're playing that way, and these guys, and personal issues. This is something that was unprecedented, and how do you deal with that? Who do you call at that moment? Because no one dealt with that. But don't get me wrong, whenever I can, learn or hear about someone, it doesn't matter if the coach is a coach in League 1, League 2, non-league. You coach longer than me, I'm listening. And even if you didn't coach longer than me, because we can always help each other, it doesn't matter. People always have a view of something that you didn't have, and that's the beauty of the game. That doesn't mean you're going to like it, accept it. You might not take it. You might change it to what you like and how you like to coach and what you see in your game. But that's important. It's important to understand that, like I said to you, you're starting. I'm learning. I haven't done anything. I was well aware of it when I was a player. The same when I arrived at Arsenal. As much as I was a world champion is national team, and that was with France. I didn't do anything with Arsenal yet. So it was on me to impress them, to make sure that I can show them I can win something with them. And that's the way it is.
Brilliant. Incredible, Thierry. I'm conscious of time. I think we did say it was an hour, and it's an hour and 10. It's typical of us, Rob. We do like to keep our guests a wee bit longer.
I talk a lot, though.
But you talk a lot of sense, Thierry, is what you do. And I think, you're back in the Sky Sports studios now, and that's going to remain that way until someone gives you a call to say we want you back in the dugout. Is that right?
No, not at all. I went there as a guest. It was nice. I went there as a guest, being with Jamie. I liked it. What's not to like? You talk about the game. You have time to talk about the game. You can have a go at Jamie Carragher. It's just amazing. No, really. It was great. But there's nothing. I was just there as a guest.
Brilliant.
So the message is there's a job out there for you. If anyone's listening to this and wants to get in touch with Thierry, Robbie's got his email address and we'll send that over.
Yeah, that wasn't why I came to talk to you guys, and I wasn't trying to sell myself or anything, seriously.
No, don't be
silly. Not that.
Don't be silly, Thierry.
We know. Thierry, thanks very much, pal. Been an absolute star, been an absolute legend again, as always, pal. Good luck in your future career. Good luck in your manager. I'm sure you'll go a long way, pal.
Thank you. You too, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Be
Thierry.
safe.
See you soon, mate. Bye-bye.